you have posited that the Niners have a poor fourth quarter offense, and I think it's demonstrable that they do. What is the flaw with Kyle Shanahan's fourth quarter offense?
Well, it goes back to the flaw with the entire offense. Let's just step back for a second. This is the worst offense Kyle Shanahan has had since he's been with the Niners. They're scoring 18 points per game on offense. That's worse through 6 games. That's worse than they did with Brian Hoyer in 2017. And this is a team with Kittle, Ayuk, Debo. I mean, this is a team that's been together. So what's going on? Let's talk about his scheme. Kyle's scheme. There is one feature of his scheme that makes it unique, and it sets it apart, the Niners apart from everyone else in the league. It's the pre-snap motion. All those shifts and motions. The Niners use one on almost every play. The rest of the league does it about half the time. He does it about 90% of the time. And that's what Joe Gibbs used to do back in the 80s. The idea is if you change the strength of the formation, move a tight end, the defense will change their coverages. They'll change things. They'll have to communicate, and all of a sudden they have to do it on the fly. If one person gets it wrong, they could be in the wrong gap, the wrong coverage, big plays. Kyle's had done this with success for a long time. Now it's not working. What seems to be happening is defenses, well, first of all, people have seen his offense for years. And so many of his coaches are around the league that these teams face this offense all the time. And they face it in practice. So they're not really caught off guard by it. Also, I think they've made an adjustment. They understand that something could go wrong with that communication process. So I don't think they're doing it as much. I think they're saying, you know what, we're just going to call the coverage in the front. If you want to move people, great. We're going to take our chances with our call. And so what you have is the Niners.
Hold on a second. We're going to take our chances, meaning the defense.
The defense. We're not going to change because something could go wrong. 11 people have to communicate on the fly. It's tough. And if you do it over and over, if you miss it, communicate 5 times, that could be enough to lose the game. So we're just going to go with our call. And so now you have the Niners moving people for nothing. You're just moving people. And they're not scoring points. So they're moving the ball pretty well in the first half. The defense hasn't seen it's window dressing. They haven't seen the window dressing yet, but they see it, and by the second half, they're not fooled by anything, and the Niners can't score anymore. That's a big problem. So let's talk about the fourth quarter in particular. This has been going on for a long time. If the Niners are down by 4 or more in the fourth quarter with Kyle Shanahan as their head coach, they're 0-26. 0-26. They can't come from behind in the fourth quarter. Why? Well, the whole offense is built around all those shifts and motions. Those take a long time, right? So that's a particular rhythm and tempo. It's methodical. It's slow. So the Niners are built to get a lead and sit on it, have a great defense. When they're down 4 in the fourth quarter, you can't play like that. Or if you do, you lose. You have to all of a sudden speed up your tempo, drop back and throw. And the Niners are not built to do that from their coach to their quarterback to their offensive line. They have the weapons to do it, but they can't do it. And that's why they're 0-26 when they're down in the fourth quarter by 4 or more. Their offense is simply not built for that because once you take away the shifts and the motions, Dad, what is this offense? It's bland, it's vanilla, it's simple. That's the problem. His scheme has been figured out.
I see. It's like in baseball when pitchers figure out a hitter.
Yep.
They get a book on it.
Absolutely. So he's moving all these people around. The defense is like, okay, well, we're not changing anything. Go ahead and move. And it's like, for example, we're going to talk about the long drive in the fourth quarter next, but they were down 14 in the fourth quarter. They got the ball back with more than 10 minutes left. And what the hell? They're doing all those shifts and motions. They're taking their time, substituting people. Where's the hurry up offense? Why did you think you could give the ball back to well, we'll get to that in a minute. We just saw it. They don't have a hurry up offense. It's all about these shifts and these motions, and defenses aren't surprised by it anymore.
I love it. It's very interesting analysis, something that I didn't understand, i.e. the defenses have caught up with Kyle.
They always do. And Kyle hasn't changed anything.
You know, it's interesting. In the early part of the game, I was home tweeting, and they fell behind by 14 points. And I wrote, can the offense come back from a 14-point deficit? And then they did. So I guess I wrote, I guess I'm wrong. They could. But then they fell behind another 14 points, and they couldn't come back.
No, I think it's pretty clear. The way to beat the 49ers is to just survive their script. Kyle Shanahan's script is tricky, and they move the ball pretty well in the first half. But if you're not down by 7 at halftime, you'll probably win. If it's tied at halftime, you'll probably win because his defense will get tired and his offense will stall out.
And Iggy, he's not good off script.
No, he's not good off script. Absolutely not. Script is pretty good, though, every week.
Yeah. Iggy, one time, it was funny. One time, years and years ago, I was at the 49er facility, and I was interviewing one of the coaches, not Bill Walsh. And as I was leaving, I was on the second floor, and as I was leaving to go down to where the press room used to be, I passed what looked like almost a little closet, and there's Bill sitting with a yellow memo pad, and he was writing the script. I
Wow.
saw him doing it
Wow.
by hand. He
Yeah.
was sitting alone. It was a little like a closet. It was a little room, and he had a desk and a chair. He was lefty. He was making his little marks, and he was doing his scripted plays right then and there.
Yeah.
But
And I'm sure.
I was going to say the difference between him and Kyle. What Bill, when he got off the script, he was still pretty good.
That's what I'm
Kyle,
saying.
it seems like he needs to script another 25 plays at halftime, but he doesn't have the time.
But again, I think the problem with the fourth quarter offense is you can't script that.
Got
The
it.
fourth quarter is situational football, right? Are you winning? Are you losing? How much time do you have left?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the rhythm and tempo of his offense goes out the window. You can't take 30 seconds between plays and just, you see him between. Here's the Kyle Shanahan offense. Standing there looking at his play sheet for a while. Like he's looking at a menu, right? Oh, I don't know. What do I want? The T-bone steak? All right, I'm going to go with the meatloaf. And he finally calls the play, and it's really long, and it's like 3 or 4 guys substituting. Then they have to call it in the huddle. Then they got to go to the line of scrimmage. Then Kittle goes from the left to the right. Then Juszczyk goes in motion. Then it's like, come on! And it's great when they're winning, right? Because it's devastating. The defense is playing great, and the offense is just going so slowly and moving the ball, and they win. But when they're losing, you can't play like that. In the fourth quarter, when you're losing, you can't play like that.
You know what it proves?
Although they did this week. They did. They literally did it this week, which is unreal.
It proves that the meatloaf turned into a meatball.
It turned into a meatball. Yeah.
Meatloaf.
Yeah.
He should have gone for the T-bone.
Should have gone for the T-bone. So look, we've talked a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo. I've said, he's just not good enough. You can't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, can you win a Super Bowl with a coach who can't win a game if they're down by 4 more points in the fourth quarter? I don't know.
I love it. And I want to say this. This is a very important point you just brought
Yeah.
up. There's been a lot of talk about Jimmy and Trey and Jimmy. The real one to talk about is the head coach.
Yep.
That's the issue. The
Yep.
issue is the head coach, not the quarterback. Because you know what? I'm going to use a loaded word, a more inventive head coach could maybe get more out of Jimmy.
Absolutely. And Jimmy isn't bad enough to be this bad on offense with all these weapons. They have way too many weapons. And Jimmy's a competent quarterback who's had success in the league with these weapons. This is Kyle. Your scheme is getting figured out. Do something new.
Right. And Iggy, he doesn't know how to do something new.
No, he doesn't, which really, really makes me question him and the future of this, not the future of the team, but as we've all said, it's a Super Bowl roster, right? Super Bowl window, Super Bowl roster. Can't waste it on a guy like Trey Lance who's not ready. Well, what about if you're wasting it on a coach like Kyle? This team the window has been 4 years. Eventually it won't be open anymore. Kittle's almost 30. Armstead's almost 30. I don't know, man. Kyle, you need to come from behind once in the fourth quarter and show us that this is an issue that you can fix.
And another thing that you brought up in the past, he's a scheme coach. He does things according to a scheme. He can't change.
Nope.
He can't change.
Nope.
Really good coaches say, the scheme isn't working. I'm going to do this now.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a second year.
Yeah, if his game plan doesn't work that week, they're screwed because he's not adjusting. He's just going to go down. And this is what happened a few days ago.
Yeah, he's going to go
Yeah,
down.
He's going to go down.
Same thing, Iggy, with Sean McVay. Same way.
Absolutely. You're seeing these scheme coaches get figured out.
2 pieces of a pod.
Absolutely. And all these guys who are having success this year are guys that you really haven't heard of, who are making their name right now. The guy in Philly, who the hell is that?
And also, I think the guy in Atlanta outcoached Kyle on Sunday.
No-name guys. Ken Dorsey up in Buffalo is doing a really good job. Guys who are not stuck in the things they've been doing for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. If you look up pre-snap motion 49ers, there's all these articles, 2020, 2021, about how the Niners are leading the pack in offensive football with this pre-snap motion stuff. Defenses figure it out. They always do. Give them a couple years. So now Kyle needs the next idea.
Tell me again how many points they're averaging on offense per game.
18.
Is that good, Iggy?
It's terrible. It's the worst they've ever averaged through 6 games with Kyle Shanahan as the head coach. I got this from Nick Newman, who used to work with me and good friend of mine. They were better with Brian Hoyer, Marquise Goodwin, Pierre Garçon, and Carlos Hyde for the first 6 games in 2017 than now, which is such an indictment of Kyle because Jimmy's better than Hoyer. Debo's better than Garcon. Ayuk's better than Goodwin. And Jeff Wilson Jr. is better than Carlos Hyde. So what the hell is going on, Kyle? Oh, your scheme got figured out.
Yeah.
Oh, the motion isn't. It's just window dressing. You're not fooling anyone anymore. Great.
Love it. And again, the thing that I learned from you right now is so teams don't adjust on defense. Bring it on.
Bring it on. Instead of us trying to match up with every little thing and make a communication call, like that's what you want us to do. Because if from his perspective, if I motion 90% of the times and I run 65 plays, that means there's 55 motion. That's 55 opportunities for one player in your defense to get the call wrong. It's going to happen. It's going to. There's no way you're going to communicate correctly 100% of the time, right? So forget it. Forget that communication. Just line up and call something because the Niners are just going to waste their own time.
Got it.
Yeah, that's what's happening. I think that's what some of the defenses are doing to counteract this Shanahan offense. And now we're seeing. Yes. Yeah.
So
Book is out. So let's talk about.
Wait a minute. Of that coach figuring out Kyle and out coaching him.
Yeah, the word is out.